everyone. Welcome to Death and Funeral Benefits presentation hosted by Lifespin and a staff member from Discretionary Benefits City of London. My name is Nicole and I'm the community advocate at Lifespin, and it is my pleasure to host this little presentation for you. I hope it is informative, and if you have any questions, please do email me. My contact information will be listed at the end of the slide. At the end of the presentation. Let's get started. So what is the Discretionary Benefits Funerals and Burials Program? Well, first of all, discretionary benefits are provided to recipients of Ontario Works, Ontario Disability Support Program, and low-income Londoners who require financial assistance to purchase health and emergency-related items. London is one of the very few cities in Ontario who offer funerals and burials for those who are not on social assistance. We encourage you not to use discretionary benefits and burials program as a part of your estate planning. Try to make any and all arrangements for yourself versus using discretionary benefits because it is a last resort option. If you have assets available, discretionary benefits expects you to use those assets to pay for a funeral. The asset limit for this program is currently $3,000 for a single person and $6,000 for a couple. More about the application process. So applications for funerals and burials can only be made after a death. The next of kin or executor in the will should call discretionary benefits right away to start the application process. They can be reached at 519-661-5910. You will be asked a series of questions and you will need the deceased personal information. This is a pre-approval program. This means if someone has signed a contract with a funeral home before they have contacted discretionary benefits for assistance, they are locked into a contract and the City of London cannot be involved after this point. Your eligibility will be determined after the application process is complete. So this means just because you do an application doesn't mean you will get approved. Your eligibility will be determined after the application is processed. So what do you need for the application? If the deceased was on social assistance, you will need the deceased personal info, including full name, date of birth, address, phone number, etc. Eligibility for recipients of social assistance is usually determined over the phone during the initial call to start the application process. If you are not on social assistance, it will be a larger, more complicated application requiring more supporting documentation. If you are not on social assistance, you will need the following things for the application: any and all ID for the deceased, proof of London address, proof of income and assets, 60 days of bank statements, and this is to assure the deceased does not have sufficient assets and cannot pay for their final arrangements. What happens after you are approved? When the application is approved, a funeral package will be offered, not a dollar amount. So this means that there won't be any financial gain from this program. A package will be offered to you, not money. You can choose any funeral home or crematorium. You are not limited to London. For example, if the family is from Sarnia, you can choose a funeral home or crematorium in Sarnia, but discretionary benefits will not cover the costs of transporting the deceased to Sarnia. What is provided? Traditional funeral service with a grave burial or immediate cremation. Arrangements will be made directly with the vendor of your choice. The City of London has specific fees they pay to the funeral home. You will be offered a respectful but basic service. Printables, flowers, and casket upgrades are not included and will be paid for at the next of kin's expense. After the funeral service is completed, the invoice is sent to the City of London and it is paid. The city then becomes a creditor of the deceased's estate. Discretionary benefits will do the deceased CPP death benefit application if they were eligible, and that money will go directly to the city once approved. The deceased family cannot pursue any assets of the deceased to help with the cost. The deceased bank will send any and all monies to the City of London, and the funds are recycled back into the funeral program so they can continue to offer the funeral and burials program. What can make my deceased loved one ineligible for this program? Things that would put the deceased over the eligibility would make them ineligible for this program, like final social assistance payments, old age security or CPP payments. The deceased is entitled to these payments in the last month of their death, so it is considered an asset. This includes the CPP death benefit. Other things that could make someone ineligible are current bank account balances, TFSAs, RRSPs, RESPs, anything liquid, and also their status in Canada. Student and work visas are not permitted. The deceased would have to qualify for social assistance based on their status in Canada. So, what are the rules of the funerals and burials program? Just some things to be aware of. The deceased family next of kin cannot financially benefit from the funeral. This is why assets are looked at so closely during the application process. And it's also the reason why death certificates state that the document itself cannot be used for financial gain. The death certificate can be used for other things, such as closing credit cards, notifying landlords, rerouting mail, etc. Funeral and burials case by case basis. So sometimes it can be tricky when the deceased assets are tied up in property and are not liquid, and approval for these types of situations are on a case by case basis. I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of having a will. Without a will, friends, charities, or other beneficiaries cannot inherit from your estate. Only family can inherit. Having a will ensures your wishes will be carried out and your loved ones are provided for. Be sure to consider arrangements for the care of your children and pets. The will should also contain information about the location of personal information, such as where to find the deceased birth certificate, their banking information, their social insurance number, etc. That way, your loved one can find it easily and start the funeral arrangements without delay. Other important information. If you are the spouse and lived with a deceased person, this is for people who are living in a rental unit. You have the right to stay in the rental unit after your loved one passes away. If you wish to leave the rental unit, the tenancy would end 30 days after the death of the tenant. If you live in rent-geared-income housing, the rules will likely be different, and you should contact your landlord or your housing provider to ask more about what that would look like. The estate is responsible for removing the deceased tenant's possessions and returning the property to you in a reasonable condition. This means they should cover cleaning and repairs as stipulated in the lease. The security deposit is also the property of the estate. If you are a single person and you pass away, there's 30 days for your next of kin to clean out your unit after you pass away. Once the 30 days have passed, the landlord has the right to sell, keep, or dispose of any belongings still in the rental unit. Now let's move on to financial benefits that you can get when a loved one passes away, or if you were to pass away. There is the Canada Pension Plan death benefit, and it is a one-time payment payable to the estate or other eligible individuals on behalf of the deceased CPP contributor. So for someone to get the CPP death benefit, they must have made contributions to the Canada Pension Plan, or they must have been on Canada Pension Plan disability. If you have not made contributions to Canada Pension Plan or were not on Canada Pension Plan disability, you will not be eligible for the CPP death benefit. A little bit more about the CPP death benefit. How much is it? It's a one-time payment of $2,500. When should I apply? You should apply as soon as possible after the contributor's death. Who applies? If an estate exists, the executor named in the will or the administrator named by the court to administer the estate applies for the death benefit. The executor should apply for the benefit within 60 days of the date of death. If no estate exists or if the executor has not applied for the death benefit, payment may be made to other persons who apply for the benefit in the following order of priority: the person or institution that has paid for the funeral expenses of the deceased, their surviving spouse or common law partner, or the next of kin. A registered trustee, guardian, or other legal representative may act on a client's behalf in person, by mail, or by phone, but not online. So how do you apply? You can apply online. You would sign in to the Service Canada website if you have an account and complete the online CPP death benefit form. You could print the application and mail it or drop it off to a Service Canada office. Make sure you have all the required documentation. It will be listed on the application itself. And please make sure you indicate both the deceased contributor's social insurance number and your own on all documents before sending them into Service Canada. If not, it could slow the process down. As mentioned, you can also apply using a paper application. I have put the link there for you to print it. If you do not have a printer, you could go to the library and print it out, or you could just email me and ask me to mail you out a copy of this application. I'm happy to do that. So you would complete the application, include certified true copies, mail the form or drop it off at a Service Canada office, and indicate both the deceased contributor's SIN and your own on all documents for sending them to Service Canada. I should talk about where you can who can certify true copies for you. I'm able to do that, but they can also do that at Service Canada when you go in with all of your documentation and your application. They will be able to certify those copies for you. So what happens after you apply for the CPP death benefit? It takes approximately 6 to 12 weeks to receive your payment from the date that Service Canada receives your completed application. If more than 12 weeks have passed and you would like to find out the status of your application, you can contact Canada Pension Plan. If you disagree with a decision, you may request a reconsideration of any decision that affects your eligibility or the amount of your Canada Pension Plan benefit. To find out how to report the death benefit on a tax return of the individual who receives it, refer to Death Benefits, prepare tax returns for someone who has died. And I've left the link there for you. Okay, more financial benefits that are available after a death. The CPP survivor's pension. This is a monthly payment paid to the legal spouse or common law partner of the deceased CPP contributor. To qualify for the survivor's pension, you must be legally married to a deceased CPP contributor. That means your loved one who passed away must have either contributed to the Canada Pension Plan or was at least on Canada Pension Plan disability or was on just Canada Pension Plan in general. So you have to be legally married to them or just be the common law partner. What is a common law partner? According to the Canada Pension Plan legislation, a common law partner is a person of either sex who has lived with you in a conjugal relationship for at least 1 year. To prove that you are in a common law union or that you and your spouse lived in a common law relationship prior to your marriage, you will need to fill out an extra form, and that is called the Statutory Declaration of Common Law Union. And that form can be found at the link that I've put below there. If you are a separated legal spouse and the deceased had no common law partner, you may qualify for this benefit. If you were previously married, if you remarried, you would have, and this rule was changed in 1987. Previously, if you were remarried, you would not be eligible, but they changed that rule in 1987. So if you lost Canada Pension Plan survivor's benefit because you remarried, contact them to find out if you are eligible now. If you are widowed more than once, You will only get one survivor's pension, but it will be a larger amount. So if you remarried and you were already on the survivor's pension and then your new spouse passes away, your survivor's pension would be larger than it was before. If you remarry, your pension will continue even after you remarry. Your survivor's pension will continue. The amount you receive as a surviving spouse or common law partner will depend on whether you are younger or older than the age 65, how much and for how long the deceased contributor paid into Canada Pension Plan. They first calculate the amount that the CPP retirement pension of the deceased is, or would have been, if the deceased had been at age 65 at the time of death. Then a further calculation is done based on the survivor's age at the time of the contributor's death. If you are age 65 or older, you will receive 60% of the contributor's retirement pension if you are not receiving other CPP benefits. If you are under the age of 65, you will receive a flat rate portion and 37.5 the contributor's retirement pension if you are not receiving other CPP benefits. Combining the survivor's pension with other CPP benefits. If you already receive a Canada Pension Plan retirement pension or a disability pension, the survivor's pension will be combined into a single monthly payment. However, you cannot receive a full survivor's pension while also receiving full retirement pension or disability pension. The combined benefit is not necessarily the sum of the two separate benefits. If you would like to know more about that, I have left a link down below. Okay, so when should you apply for the survivor's pension? You should apply as soon as possible after the contributor's death. If you delay, you may lose benefits. The Canada Pension Plan can only make back payments for up to 12 months. And who should complete the survivor's pension application? As the survivor, you are responsible for applying for your monthly pension. If you are incapable of applying, you may have a representative or trustee apply for you. A registered trustee, guardian, or other legal representative may act on a client's behalf in person, by mail, or by phone, but not online. For more information, you can contact Canada Pension Plan. So how can you apply? You can apply online, sign into your Service Canada account and complete the online form, mail certified true copies of the required documentation, or drop them off at a Service Canada office and indicate both the deceased SIN number and your own on all documents before sending them to Service Canada. Again, I can certify true copies, or when you go to Service Canada, they can certify the copies for you. You can also apply using a paper application, and I've left the link there for you. You would complete that application. Again, you would include any certified true copies for the required documentation, mail the form, or you can drop it off at the Service Canada office. And as always, indicate both the deceased SIN number and your own on all documents before sending them to Service Canada. After you apply, the survivor's pension starts at the earliest the month after the contributor's death. It takes approximately 6 to 12 weeks to receive your first payment from the date Service Canada received your completed application. If more than 12 weeks have passed and you would like to find out the status of your application, you can contact Canada Pension Plan. If you disagree with the decision, you may request a reconsideration of any decision that affects your eligibility or the amount of your Canada Pension Plan benefit. Okay, more financial benefits are available after death. So there's also the Canada Pension Plan Children's Benefits, and this provides monthly payments to the dependent children of deceased Canada Pension Canada Pension Plan contributors, their surviving child's benefit is a monthly payment for a child of the deceased contributor. For the benefit to be paid, the deceased contributor must have made sufficient contributions to CPP. To be eligible, the child must be either under the age of 18 or under the age of 25 and in full-time attendance at a recognized school or university. The child must also be the natural child of the contributor, a child adopted legally or in fact by the contributor while under the age of 21, a child legally or in fact living with and in the custody control of the contributor while under the age of 21. A child may be eligible for this if a parent or guardian has died and met CPP contributor requirements for a CPP death benefit. If the child is age 18 to 25, the child must be attending school full-time at a recognized educational institution in order to receive a children's benefit. Once a child turns 25, they are no longer eligible for these benefits. The monthly children's benefit is a flat rate that is adjusted annually. For the current year, the rate is $294.12. When should you apply? Dependent children or their parent or guardian should complete an application after a parent or guardian dies. You should apply as soon as possible. If you delay, you might lose benefits. The Canada Pension Plan can only make back payments for up to 12 months. Who should complete the application? If you have custody and control of a dependent child of a disabled or deceased contributor and the child is under the age of 18, you should apply for the child's benefit on behalf of the child. However, children under the age of 18 who are living on their own and capable of managing their own affairs may complete their own application. So how to apply? You would complete the application online. Or I've included the link there for you to print it off from the internet. If you want to apply online, you would sign into your Service Canada account and apply that way. As always, include certified true copies of the required documentation and mail the form or drop it off to Service Canada. If you're applying for a child aged 18 to 25 in full-time attendance at a recognized school or university, students age 18 to 25 who are applying for or renewing their children's benefit are required to have a declaration of attendance at school or university signed by the registrar at the educational institution they are attending. If the student is no longer in school or attending classes full-time, they are required to notify Canada Pension Plan. When to apply for children of deceased CPP contributors: the month after the contributor's death, the month after the child is born or becomes the contributor's child, or 12 months before the application was received, including the month it was received. The benefit will stop the month after the child turns 18, or if they're over 18 and not in full-time school, the month after the child turns 25, the month after the parent or guardian's disability benefit stops, the month after a child is no longer in the custody and control of the parent or guardian receiving a disability benefit, or the month after the child dies. Okay, so how do you convert a disabled contributor's child benefit into a survivor's child benefit? The eligibility for the disabled contributor's children benefit would end the month of your parent's death. However, you could then be eligible for the children's benefit as the child of a deceased CPP contributor. If you are age 18 to 25 and receiving the benefit, Service Canada will convert it to a survivor's child benefit automatically when they're notified of the contributor's death. However, an application for the surviving child's benefit must be made for children under the age of 18. Okay, so I have just a little chart here for discretionary benefits, contact information, and my contact information. Please utilize this information and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. I hope this PowerPoint was informative and is helpful to you guys. And I will see you guys again at the next presentation. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye.